Welcome. Come in quietly. You found your way here for a reason, even if you don't yet know why. This is a place for those who seek stories that don't let go, even long after the screen goes dark. Tonight's theme: lake houses. Those peaceful retreats we think of as safe escapes from the world. Until we're reminded how deep still water can hide things that were never meant to surface. These aren't campfire rumors or cheap ghost tales. These are true accounts of what waits beneath black water, of homes that breathe when no one lives in them, and voices that don't belong to the living calling from the shore. And each one ends the same way. Someone always disappears. If you choose to stay, understand this. These stories linger. They follow you. You may find yourself staring into your own dark reflection later tonight and wondering who might be staring back. Most people who find these stories never subscribe. Maybe they don't want the darkness to follow them. But if you're still here, you're not like most people. Before we begin, tell me, what time is it where you are right now? And where in the world are you watching from? I read every comment, especially at night. Now then, settle in. Here are tonight's true lake house encounters. The first night I heard the footsteps, I thought it had to be an animal. A deer maybe, or a raccoon. But raccoons don't walk in slow, deliberate steps across an empty dock at 2 in the morning. They don't walk like they're coming for someone. The cabin was quiet. Too quiet. Forest quiet, where even the crickets seemed to sleep. I didn't even realize I was sitting up in bed until I felt the cold sweat on my back. I had woken up to a sound. I knew that much. Something had pulled me from sleep. Something subtle enough to slip into my dreams and drag me up into consciousness before I even knew I was awake. Then I heard it again. Creak. A single step outside. Wood flexing, not near the cabin. Not in the woods. Out on the lake. Creak. Another step, slow, measured, almost rhythmic. I went still, listening. My ears strained like muscles. The window to my right looked straight onto the dock. I didn't want to look, but some sick part of me needed to. Like curiosity and fear were fighting inside me. And curiosity had its hands around fear's throat. My pulse thumped behind my eyes as I leaned toward the glass. The lake outside was black and motionless like a hole in the night. The old wooden dock stretched out from the shore, long and narrow, disappearing into shadow, empty. But the footsteps didn't stop. They were still there, subtle, patient despite nothing being there to make them. I held my breath. The air inside the cabin felt still and heavy, like it didn't want to move. The moon hid behind clouds and the world outside disappeared. No wind, no insects, no water movement, just those footsteps. Wet wood bending under a weight that wasn't there. I whispered into the dark. Hello? I don't know why I said it. I didn't expect an answer, but I got one. The footsteps stopped. I didn't sleep after that. I sat up with my back against the wall, staring through the window, waiting for something else to happen. But it didn't. The steps didn't return. The lake stayed motionless, and around 4 a.m., a breeze finally moved across the water, and everything felt normal again, as if whatever was out there was satisfied and had gone back to wherever it waited. At sunrise, the world became harmless again, the shadows retreating like they'd never meant anything. Coffee in hand, I sat on the porch and stared at the dock, now peaceful in the daylight. Sunlight glittered on the water. Birds called from the pines, everything looked ordinary, but I couldn't shake it. Who walks alone on a dock at 2 a.m., and why didn't I see them? I went down to the shoreline. The dock groaned under my weight, old boards shifting beneath my steps. It wasn't exactly safe, nails sticking out, a few boards soft from rot. But it held. I tested a few spots. It creaked almost exactly like I heard last night, so yes, it could have been an animal. A raccoon. Maybe even a fox. I tried to believe that, I really did. But then I saw the wet footprints, 3 of them human, bare feet. One at the start of the dock, one halfway down, one near the end, just 3, no more, no trail, no direction, nothing leading to or from the shore. No sign someone had stepped off into a boat. Part of my brain tried to find the explanation. Maybe someone jumped into the lake and swam, but the prints were dry now, faint, from the night before. So why were there only 3? I crouched and touched one of them. The wood was cold. Something about that chilled me more than anything last night. I came to the lake house to get peace, quiet, isolation. I thought getting away would help. that maybe I could think without thinking. But now it just reminded me why people shouldn't be alone too long. Eventually, the silence starts holding things you don't want to listen to. The cabin had belonged to my brother, Ethan. Well, technically, it belonged to both of us. Our dad built it when we were kids. But when I moved to the city and Ethan stayed behind, it became his place. His escape, his favorite place in the world. He died 6 months ago. They called it an accident. They always do. Makes it easier for people. But I knew Ethan. He didn't have accidents. He went night fishing and drowned, except Ethan was a better swimmer than me, and I swam competitively in college. The guy could tread water for an hour. No alcohol in his system. No head injury. No boat damage. He was just found in the water, face down near the dock, like he simply stopped trying. I don't believe he fell. So I came up here, because something didn't make sense. Something here was wrong. Ethan never talked about being depressed. No hidden pills. No secret drinking. No gambling debt. He was steady, quiet, thoughtful. Something bothered him that last week. I knew from his messages, but he wouldn't say what. Now I think I know why. Because last night, when I heard those footsteps, I heard something else too. I heard Ethan. I spent most of the day cleaning the cabin, fixing what needed fixing, trying to make the place feel like mine, even though it didn't. It still felt like Ethan's. His books, his old boots by the door, his flannel jacket on the chair, his handwriting on a note pinned to the fridge. Don't go on the lake at night. I stared at it for a long time. Originally, I thought it was just caution. Winter black ice, strong undercurrents, random advice, but now, I wasn't so sure. Outside, the lake looked harmless under the sun, a restless expanse of glass catching the light in 1,000 silver fragments. But at night it turned to ink. Something else entirely. I kept telling myself not to overthink it. Lack of sleep, stress, still grieving. The mind can create things just as easily as it breaks them. I tried to reason with myself. But as daylight faded and dusk pulled shadows across the water, I couldn't stop myself. I kept checking the dock. By 1:50 a.m., sleep had become impossible again. I sat in a chair by the window, lights off, watching. I didn't know what I was waiting for, but I knew it was coming. The moon was bright tonight, full. The lake shimmered like a mirror. I could see the dock clearly all the way to the end. My watch ticked. 59 name. The air shifted, a feeling, like the world held its breath, and then I heard it. Creak. A single step on the dock. I froze. My hand tightened around the armrest. Creak. Another step. Steady. Slow. Coming from the shore this time. Coming toward my cabin. My heartbeat rose into my throat. Someone was there. I could see the dock. I could see there was no one walking on it, but the footsteps were moving closer, boards flexing under weight. Moving left, right, slight. Real steps. Real weight. Real presence. Step. 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 I couldn't breathe. Then I heard it. A voice. Just one word. Spoken low, broken, wet, familiar. A name. My name. Ain't Ryan? I stumbled back from the window so fast the chair fell over. My pulse exploded. My skin went cold. No, I didn't hear that. I couldn't have heard that, but I did. Someone on the dock had said my name. Almost whispered it. Like they were trying not to be heard, but needed to speak anyway. Creak. The steps reached the end of the dock. I waited for another one. Waited for the steps to reach the shore. To keep coming, but they didn't. There was just silence. I risked a glance outside. The dock was empty. The lake was still. A thin mist slithered across the surface of the water like fingers. Spreading over glass, nothing else moved. I didn't sleep again. The rest of the night passed in a blur of fear and waiting. Waiting for footsteps. For voices. For something to change. Something did. Just before dawn, I opened the front door to step outside and I froze. There were footprints. Wet footprints. Leading from the dock to my cabin, bare feet. They stopped at my front door. I barely slept that night. Every creak in the cabin made me sit up. Every rustle of pine needles outside sounded like footsteps returning. The lake was silent, but it didn't feel peaceful anymore. It felt like it was watching me. Waiting. The worst part was that it wasn't some supernatural feeling. It was real. Someone had been there, had stood on the dock, had watched me. By 6 a.m., I gave up trying to sleep. I threw on a hoodie and stepped outside, just as pale morning light started to break through the tree line. The lake was glass again, still and heavy. I walked down to the dock slowly, half hoping I imagined the footprints. Half hoping they were still there so I'd know I wasn't losing my mind. They were gone. The wood looked freshly washed from dew. Clean, smooth, no footprints. But I knew what I'd seen. I cupped my hands around my mouth and yelled across the lake toward the opposite shore.
Hello?
Nothing. No echo. No movement. Just silence. I stayed out there for a long minute, arms folded, scanning the tree line around the cabin. It felt empty, but not safe. Like whoever was here could be watching again, just out of sight. I headed back inside, made a pot of strong black coffee, and sat at the table with my laptop. Cell service sucked here, but sometimes the Wi-Fi worked, just slow as hell. The cabin technically belonged to my Uncle Rick, but he let me use it whenever I needed to get away. He said it was remote enough to get your mind right. Remote was right. The nearest neighbor was a 15-minute drive. Nearest town? 40? Nearest police station? Almost an hour. No one was accidentally stumbling out here. So what the hell did I hear last night? As the sky turned fully blue and morning fog lifted from the lake, I made myself a decision. I wasn't going to be paranoid. I came out here to write, to finally finish my damn book, and I wasn't about to cut and run over one weird night. But I was definitely locking all the damn doors from now on. Around noon, I heard a car engine approaching, tires crunching gravel. I froze, waiting by the window. Few people drove past here. Visitors weren't a thing. Deliveries didn't come out this far. An old forest green pickup rolled slowly into the clearing. A tall man climbed out wearing a faded blue jacket and a tan cap. He looked around, like he was expecting someone to come out and greet him. Then he saw me inside and gave a casual wave. I stepped out onto the porch. "Morning," he called, squinting at me. "You must be Rick's nephew." His voice was rough, like he worked outside year-round. "Yeah," I said slowly. "That's me." He stuck out his hand. "Name's Tom. I do maintenance and security checks around the lake." I shook his hand. "Firm grip, cold skin, security checks?" I asked casually. He shrugged. "Mostly for peace of mind. Been a lot of break-ins lately with cabins left empty. Folks get desperate. Kids come snooping. Bears sometimes too." I stayed silent for a second. Something in my chest shifted uneasily. "You haven't seen anyone suspicious hanging around, have you?" He asked it calmly but not casually. He studied my face when he said it. Like he was testing me, I forced my tone to stay neutral. Why, for a heartbeat he didn't answer. Then he pointed his thumb toward the upper road. "Got a report from a couple across the lake. Said someone's been creeping around at night, watching. Could be nothing, but we keep an eye out." My jaw tensed. "Keep it cool, haven't seen anything," I lied. He nodded slowly. "Good, still. Lock your doors. And don't go out on that lake alone at night," I frowned. "Why?" He adjusted his cap, eyes drifting to the water. "Night changes things out here," he said quietly. "Makes people act strange. Hear things wrong. See things that ain't really there." Then he looked at me again, this time directly. "Other times." He paused. "People see things that are there, but wish they hadn't." A chill rolled down my spine. He tipped his cap. "You need anything, I'm a radio call away." He climbed back into his truck and backed out, gravel popping under the tires until the sound faded into silence. I stayed on the porch long after he was gone. Break-ins, people watching cabins, someone creeping around. I hadn't imagined it. Something was going on here. I went inside and dug around in the hall closet until I found what I remembered being there. An old Remington shotgun. My uncle had mentioned keeping one up here, just in case something with teeth and claws tried getting in. I wasn't afraid of bears anymore. I was afraid of people. That night, I sat writing by lantern light with the fireplace burning low. No music, no distraction, just pure silence and ink scratching across paper. It helped calm me, helped me think. The cabin felt real again, grounded, normal. Then something shattered that peace. Thud, down by the lake. I froze. Every hair on my body stood on end. Thud. Water sloshed, slowly, very slowly. I set down my pen and turned off the lantern. The cabin fell into darkness except for the faint orange glow from the fireplace. I moved to the window and peeked out toward the dock. Nothing. No, wait. Something moved. A faint ripple in the water. The dock swayed gently. Someone was walking on it again. I scanned hard but couldn't see anyone. I grabbed the shotgun and stepped outside onto the porch. The air felt heavier tonight. The moonlight barely made it through thick clouds. The trees were so still they might as well have been plastic. I raised the gun. "Who's there?" I shouted. Motionless silence. Then footsteps. Slow, deliberate, walking away from the dock. I moved fast. I reached the lake and aimed down the sight, heart hammering. But just like before, nobody was there. The dock rocked slightly under its own weight. Water lapped quietly. No footprints this time. Maybe they stayed at the far end where I couldn't see. Then I noticed something floating in the water by the rocks near the shoreline, something white. I stepped carefully across the slippery stones and crouched to grab a folded piece of paper sealed inside a clear plastic sandwich bag. My pulse jumped. I pulled it open. On the paper were 4 words, written in black marker. "You shouldn't be here." That was enough. I backed away from the water and scanned the woods. Someone was close, watching. Maybe behind me. Maybe across the lake. Maybe crack a tree branch snapped somewhere in the dark. Too close, I raised the shotgun. "Come out." Nothing. "You think this is a game?" I swear I'll then footsteps fast running, vanishing deeper into the woods. Whoever it was, they were gone in seconds. I stood there for a long time before I finally lowered the gun. Someone didn't want me here. But why give a warning instead of just breaking in? Why watch instead of attack? Unless they wanted me scared, wanted me to leave. Whoever this was, they wanted me to feel hunted. I didn't sleep at all that night. The next morning, lake fog hugged the water like thick smoke. I didn't go outside, didn't go to the dock. Instead, I stood inside the cabin watching the tree line like a paranoid prisoner. At 9:14 a.m., I heard a car again, the same forest green truck. Tom stepped out holding a coffee thermos. I went out to meet him. "Might be nothing," I said, "but someone was on my dock again last night." He stared at me steadily. "You sure?" "Oh, I'm sure," I said. This time they left a note. His eyebrows moved slightly. Concern, or something like it. I couldn't read him. "Let me guess," he said. "Told you to leave?" Something went cold inside me. "How did you—" "It happens sometimes," he said. "Some local idiots think they own this lake. Don't like strangers." I handed him the note. He looked at it once, then folded it and slid it into his jacket pocket. "I'll look into it," he said casually. Now I looked at him hard. "Shouldn't I hold on to that for the sheriff or something?" He shook his head. "Like I said, I handle things around here before they get worse. Don't need the sheriff turning this place into a circus." I didn't like that answer at all, he noticed. "Look," he said, "I'll keep an eye out tonight. In the meantime, don't go out after dark. Promise me." He waited. "You think they'll come back?" I asked. He didn't blink. "Yes." I spent the rest of the day trying to act normal, chopping wood, making food, writing, but I was just waiting, watching shadows, listening for movement. A hunted animal in my own space. Something kept scratching at the back of my mind. Something small but unsettling. Tom knew about the note before he saw it. He said locals did this sometimes. He said he'd take care of it. He didn't want the sheriff involved. Was he protecting me? Or protecting them? Sunset came fast, too fast. As soon as darkness began to swallow the lake, I barricaded the doors and windows, pulled the curtains, loaded the shotgun, kept every light off. I wasn't going out there tonight. If they wanted me, they'd have to come in. For a long time, nothing happened. Then, at exactly 11:47 p.m., 3 slow knocks on the front door. Not pounding, just knocking, calm, patient. I didn't breathe. Knock, knock, knock. "Who is it?" I said, voice steady, no response. "Say something. Right now or I'm calling the police." Silence. Then a voice, calm, low, came from the other side. "Open the door, please. They're coming." It wasn't Tom. It wasn't anyone I recognized. The voice sounded strained, almost scared. I moved closer without unlocking anything. "Who's coming?" I asked. The voice shook now, desperate. "Please. Please open the door. They're almost here." "No chance," I said. "Back away or I'll shoot through the door." I heard something, a shuffle. Not from the person at the door. From the woods, movement, then more movement. More than one person, branches cracking. Footsteps, multiple sets closing in fast. Please, the voice begged. They'll see me. Please open the... A scream ripped through the air, cut off mid-sound. I stepped back fast, gun raised. Someone had grabbed him, dragged him, silenced him. Hey, I yelled, aiming at the window. I'm calling 911. Then I heard it. I didn't sleep. Not even close. I sat on the cabin floor with my back against the wall, flashlight off, knife in my hand, watching the windows like they were portals into hell. Every shadow outside looked like it wanted in. Every creak of the wooden walls made me flinch. I waited for the footsteps to come back. I waited for the whispering voice. I waited for the cold, crawling dread that always seemed to slip inside the room when the clock got close to 3:12 a.m., but nothing came. The silence lasted for hours, this thick, heavy kind that presses into your bones. I kept listening for the lake, listening for the water to move, listening for anything. But the world outside was still. Dead still. It was worse than the footsteps. At some point I looked at my phone, 2:48 a.m. I still had time before. Whatever the hell happened at 3:12. I didn't know what would be worse, hearing those wet, dragging steps again or never hearing them and knowing something had changed. Like things out there didn't need footsteps anymore. The lantern outside was still glowing faintly in the fog. I wanted to run, grab my keys, drive out of here and never ever come back. But when I looked out the front window, my car was still gone. Just gone. Like it had never existed. The only way out now was by water. If the old rowboat down by the dock still floated, I should have waited until morning. That would have been the smart thing. But fear doesn't make you smart. Fear makes you desperate. So when the clock hit 2:55, I stood up, knife shaking in my hand, and made a decision I'm still not sure was mine. I was going to the dock. The air outside felt wrong. The fog wasn't just low, it was clinging. Wet on my skin, cold, like it was touching me on purpose. The lantern glowed behind me as I crept down the dirt path toward the lake, boots sinking into the damp earth. I could barely see the water until I was almost standing in it. The lake looked darker than before, like it swallowed light. Like it was waiting. The dock stretched out in front of me, narrow and crooked, disappearing into the mist like a road to nowhere. And then I saw them, wet footprints. They started at the base of the dock and led all the way to the end, one after another. Bare feet, human, fresh, still dripping. My heart pounded in my throat as I leaned down and touched one. The water was ice cold. These prints weren't hours old, they were minutes old. Someone was out there. On the dock. Right now I should have gone back to the house. I should have locked the door and waited for sunrise. But my body moved before my brain did, like something was pulling me forward, dragging me one step, then another. The wood creaked under my weight. Halfway down the dock, the fog thickened so much I could barely see my own hands. But I felt someone nearby, breathing, watching, waiting. Then, a soft tap echoed behind me. I spun, nothing, just fog and darkness and silence. Then another tap, this time, closer, wooden, hollow, slow, coming from the lake on my left. I knelt and looked over the edge of the dock. That's when I saw the hand white, bloated, reaching up from the black water, fingertips spread, gently knocking against the dock from underneath. Tap, tap, tap. I stumbled back so hard I nearly fell into the water. My lungs froze. It wasn't like the hand reached for me. It didn't claw or grab. It just kept gently knocking, like it wanted my attention. Then I heard it, the voice, low and broken, coming from right beneath my feet. Help. I almost threw myself into the lake before my brain screamed, no. I knew that voice. No, it couldn't be. That wasn't possible, but it said my name. Help me, please. I staggered back. My stomach dropped through the planks. The voice, the breath, the rhythm of those words, I hadn't heard them in months, but I knew them better than my own heartbeat. It was my brother's voice. Nathan. But Nathan was dead. My knees hit the dock, hard. I didn't even feel it. My whole body went numb as I reached toward the water. Nathan? No answer, just another soft knock. Nathan! I leaned over the dock again, lantern shaking in my fist. Nathan, is that you? Where are you? For a moment, I swear I felt him close, like he was inches from me, like I could almost see his face under that black surface. Then I saw something move under the water. Not a shape, not a body, just movement circling the dock. As if something had been listening, waiting. The knocking stopped. The hand slipped quietly back beneath the surface. I froze. The water rippled outward, then went perfectly still. I didn't know what scared me more, the dead hand or the silence that followed it, because something told me it hadn't left. It had just gone deeper, and now it knew I could hear it. I heard footsteps again, behind me this time. On the dock, I spun. Through the fog, I saw someone standing at the far end of the dock. Just standing there. Still as a gravestone, I couldn't see their face. I couldn't see their clothes. Just a dark shape. "Who are you?" I yelled, my voice cracked. "What do you want?" No answer. I raised my lantern higher. The figure didn't. Move then, one step forward. The boards creaked, and I realized something. There were no ripples on the water. No dripping sounds, no wet footprints. Whoever, or whatever stood there hadn't come from the lake. It had been waiting for me. Stepped back, it stepped forward. "Stay away from me." Another step. Closer. The fog folded around it like it didn't want me to see what was inside. My mind screamed, "Run." But before I could move, the figure spoke in a voice that made my blood freeze. "You shouldn't have answered him." The sound came again, bare feet slapping against wet wood, slow, heavy. One step. Then another. Then another. I froze by the window, heart pounding so hard I could see my pulse in my vision. The dock was barely visible through the fog, just a shadow floating on the black water, but I could hear it. Closer this time. The creak of the boards carried straight into my chest like a heartbeat that wasn't mine. "Nathan," I whispered before I could stop myself. My voice didn't sound like mine. It came out thin, strained, like something trying not to wake whatever was outside. No answer, but the steps didn't stop. They reached the middle of the dock, the exact place I'd seen him that night. I pressed my forehead to the cold glass, squinting through the fog. Nothing, not even movement. But I swear to God I could feel someone standing there watching me back. Then, with a sudden splash, the water rippled out from under the dock. Like something had slipped beneath it. That was enough. I grabbed my phone and flashlight, then ran to the front door. The handle was slick with humidity, cold against my skin. I hesitated for half a second before twisting it open. The night outside swallowed the sound of the door. Everything was quiet except for the faint drip of lake water somewhere nearby. I aimed my flashlight toward the dock. It illuminated a narrow tunnel of fog. Every particle in the air glowed like dust under a spotlight, but beyond that, nothing. Just the lake and the end of the dock lost in mist. Still I walked, barefoot. The wood was damp, cold enough to sting. Each step made that deep, hollow sound. I counted them to keep myself steady. 1, 2, 3. When I reached the middle, I stopped. That's where the boards changed. The air here always smelled different, darker, heavier, like wet iron. The fog around me shifted. It wasn't the wind. It was movement. Something brushed my ankle. I jerked the flashlight down. Ripples spread outward, slow, deliberate. Nothing there. Just black water swallowing the beam. I knelt, breath fogging the air. "Nathan?" The water stilled. Then something rose. At first I thought it was a fish, but the shape was too round, too pale. It hovered just beneath the surface like a drowned balloon. Then it rolled, revealing a patch of skin and hair floating loosely around it. My brain couldn't process what I was seeing until it turned, eyes opening underwater. Milky and wrong. I screamed and stumbled backward, dropping the flashlight. The beam spun wild, blinding before landing on the far end of the dock. Someone was standing there. A man. Barefoot. Dripping wet. He looked like Nathan, but his head hung at a strange angle. His mouth slightly open like he was still mid-breath. His eyes were wide and glassy, reflecting the light like animal eyes. I scrambled to my feet. No, he didn't move. Just stared. The dock creaked between us, then he started walking. Not fast, just steady. Each footstep groaned through the wood, deep and hollow. My whole body went rigid. I could smell the lake on him. Rot, algae, and something chemical. When he was close enough for me to see his face clearly, I realized it wasn't water dripping from him. It was something thicker. I turned and bolted back toward the cabin. My feet slammed the boards, splinters catching in my skin, but I didn't care. I hit the porch and threw myself inside, slamming the door shut behind me. The wood rattled, then silence. No footsteps. No sound at all. I pressed my ear to the door, shaking, trying to listen. Nothing but the faint lapping of water, then a knock. Just one, slow and deliberate. I backed away, hand over my mouth. Another knock. This one came from the side window. I turned. Through the foggy glass, a pale shape moved past, too close, dragging along the wall like it was feeling its way toward another opening. I ran to the bedroom, slammed the door, and locked it. My breath came in bursts, loud in the dark. I could hear water dripping somewhere, steady, rhythmic. It wasn't until I turned the flashlight toward the window that I realized it was coming from the inside. The frame was soaked. Small droplets ran down the glass like condensation, but they were forming shapes. Finger shapes. I stepped closer. There was a print on the glass. 5 long streaks trailing downward. Then another higher up. Someone or something was touching it from the outside. A faint voice followed. Muffled, wet, come back. It sounded like him. Like Nathan, I shook my head, backing away. You're not real. The voice came again, clearer this time. Come back. I grabbed my phone, but it had no signal. The flashlight flickered once, twice, and died completely. The room went dark, and then the door handle began to turn. Slowly. Click, click. I pressed my back to the wall, heart beating so hard it hurt. The door creaked open an inch. Through that gap, I saw an eye. Just one. Pale and colorless, staring straight at me. Then it blinked. The door swung wide open. Nothing. The room was empty, but the floor was wet. A long trail of water led from the door toward the window, ending at the sill. Outside, the fog had thickened so much I could barely see the porch. That's when I heard it again. The footsteps. This time, they weren't on the dock. They were inside. I ran for the front door, yanked it open, and sprinted barefoot into the fog. The cold hit me like a wall, cutting my lungs in half. I didn't stop running until I reached the tree line, collapsing into the damp leaves. Behind me, the cabin lights flickered on. Then off. Then on again. Something was moving inside. Through the fog, I could see the outline of a figure walking from room to room, stopping at each window. Like it was searching. Then it stopped at the front door. Even from that distance, I could tell it was looking right at me. The light went out and the footsteps started again, slow, measured, deliberate, making their way down the porch steps toward the dock. I couldn't look away. The fog shifted, revealing the dock just enough for me to see him walking onto it, same as that night. He reached the middle, stopped, and looked back toward the cabin. For one impossible moment, I thought I saw another figure step out behind him, someone that looked exactly like me. Then both of them vanished into the fog. I sat there until sunrise, unable to move. When I finally went back to the dock, the boards were dry. No footprints, no water, nothing. But when I looked down into the lake, I saw something floating just below the surface. A single shoe. Nathan's shoe. The one they never found, and right next to it, a reflection that wasn't mine. That was 2 years ago. I don't go near water anymore. I don't swim. I don't even take baths. Showers only, with the drain uncovered where I can see the water leaving. But sometimes, when I close my eyes, I still hear it. The slow, heavy sound of bare feet on wet wood, coming closer, waiting for me to come back. The first time I saw the lake, I felt something watching me from it. I can't explain that feeling any other way. The breeze was still, the sun was out, and the water looked calm. But standing there on that old wooden dock with my hands shoved in my jacket pockets, I suddenly felt like I'd stepped somewhere I didn't belong. Somewhere old. Somewhere that remembered things people tried to forget. My sister didn't feel it. She came running past me barefoot, laughing, kicking up water as she slapped her hand against the lake's surface. Last night of civilization before we disconnect, she grinned. I forced a smile back. I had agreed to stay at a lake cabin with my sister, Mia and her fiancé Daniel, for an entire week. We were celebrating their engagement before their no-phones retreat. Personally, that kind of thing isn't my vibe. But Mia asked me, begged me, and I don't say no to her, ever, especially after last year. Especially after what we went through as a family. So yeah, I came. Even if the place felt wrong, the cabin looked like it had been abandoned for years before someone suddenly decided to rent it again. The paint was peeling. The wood was warped. The metal fixtures were tarnished like they had been underwater at some point. Yet everything inside was surprisingly clean. Almost too clean. Like someone prepared it just for us. And that lake outside stretching endlessly behind the cabin, dark and glassy. It didn't sparkle under the setting sun like normal water should. It just sat there swallowing light, like it didn't want to give anything back. That first night, we tried to pretend everything was normal. We unpacked food, opened wine, lit candles, played some acoustic playlist that made everything feel like a fake Instagram cabin vacation. But there were little things that kept pulling me out of the moment, like the way the wind outside didn't move the trees. Only the cabin walls seemed to feel it, like something was brushing past them, testing the structure. Or how every now and then I'd think I heard a knock, just one each time. Slow, hollow, like someone tapping wood underwater. But every time I paused and looked around, Mia just smiled. "Stop zoning out, bro," she laughed, bumping her shoulder into mine. I didn't want to ruin her mood, so I ignored it. We sat outside on the deck after dinner. The moon peeked faintly behind gray clouds. The lake looked pitch black now, an open void of water and silence. No frogs, no crickets, no hum of distant life. Pretty wild that the whole lake is empty, Daniel said. I didn't see a single other cabin from the drive. It's off-season, Mia shrugged. That's the whole point, peace, peace. I didn't know why, but the word irritated me. Nothing about this place felt peaceful. It felt staged, hollow, too still. Then I heard it, a splash. Behind us, down by the dock, I turned immediately. The others didn't hear. Another splash. Then silence. I leaned forward in my chair, squinting, trying to pierce the dark. Nothing. No waves. No rings in the water. Nothing disturbed. "Do you hear that?" I asked. Daniel looked over his shoulder, then shook his head. "Nah." "What?" I stared at the dock. Then I saw something. A single wet footprint on the wood. Bare. Human. Fresh. Walking away from the lake. "Someone's down there," I muttered. Daniel stood up. "Dude, no one's here. You're just spooked." "Then look." He froze. He saw them too now. More footprints trailing across the dock, up toward the shore. And they weren't ours. None of us had been down there since earlier. And we definitely hadn't walked back barefoot after dark. Mia stood now too, looking between us. Her voice got small. Maybe it was a swimmer? I stared harder. The footprints came from the water, but there were no prints going back. Whoever walked out never went back in. Daniel tried to be logical about it. It's probably teenagers messing with us. Let's just go inside. I didn't want to move. My brain was glued to those prints. Something was wrong. Something had walked out of that water, and we hadn't seen it leave. Inside, Daniel locked the door behind us. He was laughing it off, but he kept checking the windows. I could tell. He didn't really believe his own excuses. Nobody said it out loud, but we were all thinking the same thing. If someone had walked out of the lake, where were they now? We checked the house. Every room, every closet. Even under the beds, nothing. But I swear, while we searched, the cabin settled, like it exhaled. Mia drank too much wine, trying to shake off the tension. By the time we made it to bed, that edgy cabin silence had returned. Heavy, thick, unnatural. I couldn't sleep. I lay on the couch by the fire, eyes flicking toward the window every few seconds. That lake view felt wrong too. Like if I stared long enough, I'd see a face floating in the black. Somewhere near 2 a.m., I heard it again. Tap. That hollow, wet knock. I sat straight up. Tap. Not at the door. Not on the wall, the window. Very slowly, I turned. The curtains fluttered just a little, like someone had been touching them a second ago. Tap. This time I saw the shape on the other side. A shadow. A faint blurred outline of someone standing just beyond the glass. I froze. My skin went cold. I didn't breathe. Tapped a single fingertip tapping the glass. I couldn't move. Couldn't speak. Couldn't scream. So I reached very slowly for my phone on the coffee table, keeping my eyes locked on that shape. My hand brushed the wood. I grabbed nothing. My phone wasn't there. I looked down. It was gone. The shadow stayed by the window. Silent. Whoever was outside had been inside the cabin, and they had taken my phone. Finally found my voice. "Daniel?" I shouted. "Someone's..." I turned back to the window. The shape was gone. I rushed forward. ripping open the curtains. No one was there. But there, just on the outside of the glass, pointed directly at me, was a wet handprint. Daniel came rushing down the hall half awake, holding a fire poker like a weapon. What the hell happened? Are you okay? Someone was outside, I told him. Right at the window. We grabbed flashlights and went out on the deck, scanning the tree line, the dock, the road leading away. But nothing moved. No footprints this time, no tracks. Just stillness. Then Daniel's light hit. Something on the ground. He swore under his breath. 3 objects sat perfectly placed in a row on the deck near the door. Phone at Mia's phone, Daniel's phone. All 3 of them dripping with lake water. When I looked up, Daniel's face was pale. We locked these inside the cabin, he said. Yeah. And somebody just gave them back. Yeah. But that wasn't even the worst part, because when I finally picked mine up and turned it over, the screen was cracked and there were words carved into the case, like someone had taken something sharp and dug the letters in, 3 words, put them back. Daniel didn't sleep the rest of the night, and neither did I. We locked every door and window, shoved a dresser against the front door, and sat in silence until the sky turned gray. Mia woke up late, groggy, confused why we looked like hell. When we told her what happened, everything she slept through, she didn't believe us. Somebody wrote on your phone case, she said slowly. In the middle of nowhere? At night without breaking in. They did break in, I snapped. They took our phones, she frowned. And you didn't hear this? See anyone? No footprints? No forced entry. I lifted the phone so she could see the carved text again. Put them back. Somehow, seeing it in daylight made it worse. Look, Mia sighed, rubbing her forehead. You guys freaked yourselves out last night with those footprints on the dock. I get it, but we're 3 people here. It was probably some local messing with us. What local? I said sharply. We're in the middle of nowhere. There are no houses here, she shrugged. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe you carved that. You do weird little carvings all the time, remember? I stared at her in disbelief. You really think I did this to myself? She didn't answer. Daniel stepped in. We're not staying here tonight, finally. Someone with common sense, but Mia shook her head. No, we're staying. We came all the way up here. And I'm not letting a little paranoia ruin it. You 2 want to bail just because you got scared? Go, but I'm staying. My jaw tightened. You're being stupid. I'm being stubborn, she said. Big difference? Daniel and I exchanged a look, one he didn't want her to see. The look you give someone right before admitting what you've been holding back. He cleared his throat. There's something we didn't tell you. Mia raised a brow. Oh, that's always a good way to start. The cabin, he said, choosing his words. It wasn't just great pricing. I picked this place for a reason. It was listed under the disconnect retreats thing. Property owners claim it's good for closure, that word again, closure, fake word. Empty word, Mia crossed her arms. Closure for what? Daniel exhaled. Then finally said it, your brother. She went still. Her eyes flicked toward me. I felt a small chill go through my chest. Mia spoke very quietly. My brother, who? I already knew what was coming. I already knew what Daniel was about to say before he even formed the words. Taylor, he said, your other brother. Our older brother. Dead 2 years now. Drowned. Mia didn't explode. She didn't shout. Didn't even say anything. She just stared at Daniel like he had spat something disgusting at her. You brought me here because of that? She said finally. I thought, Daniel began. You thought what? Her face hardened. That dragging me out to some lake was going to help me let go or heal or some Hallmark bullshit like that? This is not just some lake, I snapped, glaring at Daniel. This isn't where it happened. I know, Daniel said quickly, hands raised. I'm not trying to be a jerk. I just thought you said you wanted to feel okay again. I thought maybe... Stop, Mia said coldly. I don't want your help with that. I didn't ask you to fix me. Taylor's gone. I deal with it in my own way. Daniel nodded slowly. Okay, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have made that decision without telling you. Mia didn't move for a long time. Then she whispered, Don't ever do anything like that again. The rest of the morning was silent, heavy, full of unspoken anger. We stayed inside until noon as rain began to fall outside in a slow, cold drizzle. I kept staring out the windows, watching gray water ripple across the lake. Something about it looked unnatural, It didn't move like normal water. The waves rolled in from no wind at all, like something beneath was pushing them. Every once in a while I swore I saw something farther out, like a shape in the water, floating, watching. But whenever I squinted to focus, it vanished. By afternoon, Daniel wanted to go into town for supplies. He was probably just desperate for a break from the tension inside. Mia refused to go, still pissed, so I volunteered. The nearest town was almost a 40-minute drive through forest roads. We passed no cars, no hikers, no signs of anyone. It felt like a world no one lived in anymore. The town, if you could even call it that, was a half-dead strip of tired little buildings and dust. Old gas station, one store, a closed diner, an abandoned hardware shop. We went inside the store and grabbed what we needed. More flashlights, tools, duct tape, extra batteries. Daniel was trying to play tough, but he kept glancing at the windows like he expected someone to follow us. At checkout, the old man behind the counter rang us up without a word. No smile, no greeting. He kept his eyes on us, not friendly, not curious, watchful. Daniel tried to lighten the mood. "Hey, how's the lake this time of year?" The old man froze. He looked up at us for the first time, really looked. And I swear, in that moment something shifted in the air around us, like a sound you don't hear but feel in your bones. He said 6 quiet words. "You staying in the cabin?" It didn't sound like a question. Daniel forced a smile, uncomfortable. "Yeah, just for a week." The man stared like he was trying to read our thoughts, then he leaned in a little. "What did you hear?" he asked. The question caught me off guard. "Here?" The man looked past me out the window. Through the glass, the lake shimmered in the distance under gray rain. His jaw set. "Nobody lasts there long," he said. "Water keeps them awake." My skin prickled. Daniel forced a laugh. "Yeah, well, sleep hasn't been great so far. Maybe it's that—" "No," the man said sharply, cutting him off. "You don't listen. That's why they drown." They went silent, heavy, uncomfortable. "Who drowns?" I asked quietly. He didn't answer. Just pushed our bags forward and said, "Do not stay near the water after sundown." Daniel swallowed. "Why?" The man's eyes didn't blink. "Because sometimes," he said, voice low and hard, "it calls back what it already owns." We drove back without talking, both of us replaying his words over and over. Back at the cabin, Mia was outside near the shore, skimming rocks across the water like nothing had happened. When she saw us walking up, she called out, "Did you get food?" "No," I said. "We got a warning." She raised an eyebrow. "What are you talking about?" Then she noticed. The phones, all 3 of them, back outside again, propped neatly on the railing of the deck, facing the lake. "Did you move those?" she asked. Daniel shook his head. My grip tightened. "I left mine on the table before we drove out." "I charged mine in the bedroom," Mia said softly. Daniel looked at us both. "I locked the door when we left. You saw me lock it, all 3 phones wet again. Same message carved deeper now. Put them back where they belong." Mia backed away, shaking her head slowly. "No," she said. "No, this isn't no." The air around us shifted, cold, heavy. The wind picked up across the lake, and that's when I noticed something that turned my stomach inside out. There were footprints again, not just on the dock but around the cabin wet. Footprints circling, dozens of them, too many to count. Ran inside and locked the doors. Mia finally believed us now. Fear does that. She didn't argue anymore about leaving, didn't argue about Taylor, didn't care about finishing the retreat. Everything she cared about now existed inside these 4 walls, but for some reason, deep down, we could all feel it. Leaving wasn't going to be as easy as walking out the door. This wasn't a prank, not some crazy local messing with us. Something had chosen us, and now it was making rules. We argued in the living room while the rain slammed harder outside. "We should go," I said. "Tonight?" "No," Daniel shook his head. "Roads will be hell. Visibility sucks. I'm not crashing this car in the woods. We wait until morning." "We don't wait," I said firmly. "Whatever is happening is getting worse every night. You want to give it another 8 hours?" "We don't even know what it is," Daniel yelled. "We know what it wants," I shot back. He stared. I looked at the phones. "Put them back," I said. "Where they belong." "It keeps saying that." "Back where?" Mia whispered. Daniel looked at me. We both said it. "The lake." Nobody spoke for a long time. Rain pressed against the windows. Thunder rolled somewhere far away across the lake. Finally, Daniel stood and went to the door. He picked up his phone and stared at the carved message like it was some religious commandment. "What happens if we don't?" Mia said quietly. He didn't answer. He stepped outside. I grabbed Mia's hand before she followed. "Don't, it wants us near the water. What choice do we have?" she whispered. I didn't have an answer, so we followed him down to the dock. The lake was black now. Not dark, black, like ink. The three of us stood at the edge of the dock, rain sliding off our jackets, phones in hand. Every instinct in my body screamed no. "This is a mistake," I said. "We don't give it anything. We don't play along." Daniel looked at me. Calm. Empty. "It already owns them," he said. Then he threw his phone into the water, a sharp splash. The lake swallowed it without a ripple. Mia stared at her phone. She didn't want to. Every fear she ever felt was in her eyes in that second, but she threw it too. Another splash. She turned to me next. My chest felt hollow. But something else, something deeper, kept me there. A thought I didn't want, a thought I didn't invite. What does it want next? I dropped my phone. The lake accepted it. Silence followed. No sound, no wind. No breath from the world. Then, down the dock, something moved. And I swear, something slowly rose from the water. Something rose from the water, slow, quiet, deliberate. I didn't breathe. None of us did. At first I thought it was just a trick of the rain making the lake surface ripple, but no. Something was breaching upward. A shape. A human shape, a head, then shoulders, then arms. It climbed out of the lake, without making a single sound. Water sheeted off whatever it was, yet the surface beneath it barely moved. No splashes, no waves, no ripples. Just stillness, like the water wanted it there, like it was letting it go. It pulled itself onto the rotting end of the dock, dripping, bent forward like it had been sitting at the bottom of the lake for a very long time. My body locked up. It took my mind a few seconds to even accept what I was seeing. It looked like a person, but not alive. Its skin was pale, blue-white, bloated, waterlogged. The hands hung limp at its sides. The head lifted with an awful slowness. And then I saw hair plastered to its face, long and dark. Strings of lakeweed tangled in it. "Back up," Daniel whispered. We moved one step back together. The thing moved too, like it was matching us. I grabbed Mia's hand. She squeezed tighter than I thought she could. The figure on the dock lifted its head fully now, and its face finally came into full view. My stomach turned when I saw it. The eyes were wrong. They were open, but too wide. The lids stretched almost torn, as if they'd been forced to stay open at the moment of death. The pupils were pale and cloudy, barely human at all. Its mouth hung slightly open, and when it moved, a trickle of black water leaked from its lips. It looked dead, but it was moving. It took another dragging step closer. Daniel moved in front of us now. "Get inside," he said, voice shaking. The thing froze. Its head twitched as if it were listening. Then, it spoke. The sound was wet and broken, like lungs still full of mud. "Put them back." Mia made a choking noise in her throat. Her nails dug into my arm. "They're back," Daniel said shakily. We did. Do you see? They're in the water." The thing stared. Then something changed. Its trembling stopped. It stood taller, calmer, but somehow that made it worse. Something in it had decided. Something about us. Without warning, it lunged forward, ran hard. The dock groaned beneath our feet as we sprinted back to land. Rain hammered against us as we scrambled uphill toward the cabin. I risked one glance over my shoulder. The thing was still coming, but it didn't run. It just moved, steady, relentless, unstoppable. Arms swaying slightly at its sides like a sleepwalker. It didn't care how fast we were. It knew we had nowhere to go. Daniel slammed the cabin door. We tore through the house, locking windows, shoving furniture against doors, closing curtains. The air inside was cold, and for a second I wondered if we were actually safe. Then we heard it, wet footsteps on the wooden porch, slow, steady, coming for the door. The handle shook gently once, twice, then scratched like something was dragging its fingernails across the wood. We held our breath. No one moved. Then, tap, 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 knocking. But, wrong, not a fist. Knocking with bone. The tapping stopped. Then that voice came. Again, right outside, right behind the door. Put them back where they belong. Mia covered her ears. Stop, 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 she whispered. Daniel mouthed to me, don't respond. The thing on the porch dragged something across the door. Slow, patient. A scrape of wet wood on wood. Then the knob twisted again. I backed away. This wasn't someone trying to break in out of rage. This was someone who knew they were getting in eventually. Calm terror. Cold patience that was somehow worse. For hours, it stayed just outside. We didn't speak, didn't move, didn't exist except to listen. Rain poured. Thunder groaned. We didn't dare look out the window. Eventually, sometime past midnight, the footsteps drifted away. Silence crept in. We waited another 30 minutes before Daniel finally whispered, I think it's gone. He went to peek outside. I grabbed his arm. Don't. He hesitated. Then slowly, he moved a sliver of curtain. Just enough to look. When he turned, his face had no color left. What? Mia breathed. He swallowed. It's not gone. I forced myself to look down by the lake. Standing ankle-deep in black water was the pale figure, facing the house, watching patiently, waiting. I didn't sleep that night either. None of us did. We sat on the living room floor, backs against each other, listening for movement, feeling like trapped animals. I kept thinking about what it said. Put them back where they belong. We threw the phones into the water. That wasn't enough. Because maybe it wasn't talking about the phones at all. Maybe them meant something else, and inside, deep down, we all knew exactly what it meant. But none of us would say it. Sometime near dawn, something changed. I didn't notice it at first. It was Mia. She was staring at the wall, eyes unfocused. Mia, I said quietly. Hey, she blinked slowly. Do you hear it? She said. I froze. Hear what? She tilted her head, listening. Then she stood. A bit Mia, don't, but she didn't look at us. She started walking slowly toward the kitchen, then to the back door. Her footsteps sounded strange, like she wasn't really putting weight down, like she was being pulled. Daniel stood. Mia, stop. She reached for the back door handle. Then I heard it too. Faint. Barely there. A voice. From outside. From the lake. Calling a name. Mia. My heart stopped. No, 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 no. That voice was familiar, and I saw it now in her eyes. She recognized it too. Don't, I said, grabbing her arm. That's not him. She stared past me, eyes glassy. It sounds like him. It's not, I said, shaking her. They're trying to trick you. Her voice cracked. You didn't hear him. You didn't hear his voice. I did. Daniel stepped in front of her. Mia, please look at me. That is not your brother. The house went silent again. Only rain, only wind. Then, Mia. That broken voice again, drifting across the lake like fog. She closed her eyes. A tear slid down her cheek. She whispered one word. Taylor. Then she unlocked the back door and walked outside. We chased her. We didn't think. We just moved. Rain soaked us instantly. Wind whipped colder now, sharp and punishing. She was barefoot, stepping through mud, eyes locked on the lake. She walked straight toward the thing that was waiting for her. Mia, I shouted, grabbing her again. Listen to me. He's gone. I'm sorry, but he's gone. She turned to me with dead serious eyes. No, she said. He's not. She pointed, and my blood froze, because she was pointing not at the pale figure by the water anymore, but out farther, into the lake where another shape was, standing waist-deep in the black water. A figure. A man. I could barely see his face through the rain and fog, but I knew, instantly, I knew by the shape of his shoulders, the length of his hair, the way he stood, tilted, slightly because of an old knee injury. No, it couldn't be, but I knew. My brother, Taylor. Daniel whispered, This isn't real. My voice shook. Taylor's dead. He's right there, Mia said, tears flooding down her face. Taylor. she screamed. The figure in the lake lifted a hand as if waving her in. No. I pulled her backward, but she fought me hard. Let me go. She broke free, and before either of us could stop her, she stepped into the water. I didn't sleep after that. I couldn't. Not with the constant dripping inside the cabin walls. It was like the lake had found a way in, slowly seeping into the wooden frame, creeping through the floorboards, waiting for the right moment to pull me back. By 3:17 a.m., the entire air inside my cabin tasted like damp rot and algae. Every time I blinked, I remembered the voice outside my window. My name, spoken in Ethan's voice. I heard something else that night too. Wet footsteps walking circles around the cabin. But by the time I peeked through the blinds, nothing was there. Nothing human, anyway. The morning didn't bring safety. Only fog. I called Harper first. No answer. Then Ben, straight to voicemail. I texted, me. Do not go near the lake. Something's wrong. Call me ASAP. Me. I know how this sounds. I'm not okay. Ethan is not gone. He's here. Minutes passed. Nothing. Finally, my phone buzzed. Ben. Bro, we're fine. Stop freaking out. Come down to the pier. We're going fishing. My heart dropped. The pier. The same one where Ethan drowned. I could practically hear Ethan's cry in my head. Help me. Ben, don't walk away. I typed so fast my fingers hurt. Me. Don't go to the lake. I'm coming to you. Stay on land. No reply. I grabbed my boots and ran. Fog clung to the lake, thick and soupy. I could barely see more than 15 feet ahead as I followed the wooden walkway. That smell again. Rotting lakeweed and something sour. Old. Dead. Ben! Harper! I yelled. No answer. Halfway across the pier, the water beneath began to churn. The surface broke. Fish, dead ones, floated belly up in clusters. Something had killed them recently. Something in the water. That's when I saw them. Ben and Harper sat at the very end of the pier, fishing rods in hand, not moving, not talking, just staring straight ahead. Hey, what the hell are you two doing? I said, walking toward them. No response. A chill crept through me. Their backs looked stiff, too stiff, frozen in place. Guys? I stepped closer. When I reached them, I stopped dead. Their eyes were open, but they weren't blinking. Their pupils were cloudy, as if a white film coated their eyes. Thin trails of lake water leaked slowly from their nostrils, their throats, like they were drowning. From the inside. I backed up. Ben? Harper, can you hear me? Their heads turned at the same time, slowly, mechanical, like something else was moving them. Then, in perfect unison, they smiled, a cold, wrong smile, and said the exact same thing in a voice that didn't belong to them. You left him. My blood ran ice cold. No, I whispered. No, this isn't real. But it was. Ben stood up first, skin pale, shirt soaked, though I could see no rain. Harper followed, their heads tilted slightly, like puppets at rest. Come back. To the water, Harper said with a gurgling voice that clearly wasn't hers. You have to finish what you started, Ben added, stepping closer. I stumbled backward. I didn't leave him. I tried to save him. A voice cut through mine from behind them. No, you didn't. My whole body locked up. Someone was standing behind them. Someone tall, dripping. Ethan. His head hung slightly to the side, eyes bloodshot, skin waterlogged and bruised. His clothes clung to him, drenched in lake water, but his lips were moving. I called for you, he said, voice hoarse, broken. I begged you to help me, but you swam away. I shook my head so hard my vision blurred. That's not what happened, Ethan. You were panicking. You grabbed me, pulled me under. I couldn't breathe. You let go! He roared, his voice echoing across the lake like a thunderclap. The water surged upward like something huge moved beneath it. You let go first. Ben and Harper stood perfectly still, eyes empty. "Come into the water," Ethan said, extending a soaked hand toward me. "If you didn't let me drown, then why are you afraid?" I backed away slowly. "You're not him. Ethan is dead." He stopped moving. The lake went quiet again. His head twitched. A slow, jerking motion. Wrong, unnatural. He tilted his head and whispered, "Then why do I remember drowning?" The wood beneath my feet suddenly shifted, wet, slick. There was a sound like rope tightening. My legs snapped backward violently like something had wrapped around my ankles. I crashed onto the deck and was dragged toward the edge. "No, no!" I dug my nails into the wood, splinters ripping under my skin. Ben and Harper didn't move, they just watched. Blank-eyed. Silent. I kicked frantically, trying to free myself, but the invisible grip yanked harder. My legs went over the edge. Then my hips. Cold water splashed across my chest. Then, boom. A gunshot. The pull stopped instantly. Something shrieked across the lake, a roar so loud it shook the pier. I gasped and twisted around. Uncle Ray stood at the other end of the dock, shotgun in hand, eyes wide with fear. "Get away from the water," he yelled. I scrambled up, crawling as fast as I could toward him. Ethan, whatever he was now, let out a sound I'll never forget. Not human, full of rage and grief. The fog around him boiled. "You can't save him," the thing hissed. "He's already mine." Then he, and Ben and Harper, all fell backward into the lake. Gone. Ray pulled me back to shore. His hand shook as he slammed the cabin door behind us and bolted it shut. "What the hell is happening?" I cried. "What is that thing and what did it do to them?" He didn't answer. Instead, he went to a drawer and pulled out a rusted metal box. He placed it on the table, breathed heavily, then opened it. Inside were old newspaper clippings, all of them about drownings, teenagers, adults, fishermen, lost swimmers, all of them from this lake. "This lake isn't haunted," he said hoarsely. "It's hungry." He spread the clippings out. "Every few years, it takes someone who dies scared, someone who dies calling for help. And if that help never comes," he looked at me with empty eyes, "they never leave." I stared, stunned. "You knew," I whispered. "You knew this place was cursed and you let us come here?" He didn't deny it. I thought, maybe it was over. It's been quiet for 5 years. I got careless. "5 years?" I asked. He nodded. "That boy who drowned on prom night," he said quietly. "The one who fell from the pier." My stomach dropped. I thought that was just a rumor. Some town kid. Ray closed his eyes. "He wasn't from town." He paused. "He was your father's brother, your uncle." I felt sick. My world cracked in half. "My dad never told me. He didn't want you to know," Ray said. "Your Uncle Daniel drowned here when we were kids. He called to me, screamed for help. And his voice broke. I swam away. I stared at him in horror. "You let him drown." His face collapsed in shame. I thought I could come back with help, but by the time anyone got there, he was gone. I heard him at night for years. I stopped coming here. But when your dad died, I thought maybe we could make new memories here. Start again. I was wrong. I backed away. This is your fault." He didn't argue. "And now," he whispered, "it wants you too." The wind outside screamed against the cabin. The lake was rising, waves crashing violently. "What about Ben and Harper?" I said. "We have to get them back." Ray shook his head. "If the water has them, they're already gone." I refused to believe that. "No, I won't leave them like you left Daniel. I won't run." For the first time, his eyes softened. "You sound just like your father." I grabbed his shotgun and stood up. "Then show me how to fight this." To my surprise, he nodded. We fought our way through the storm to the pier, rain slicing across our faces. Thunder cracked above as waves slammed the wood. "Where do we start?" I yelled over the wind. Ray didn't answer. He was staring at something ahead. Someone was standing at the edge of the pier again. I felt my chest tighten. It was Ethan. He wasn't alone. Ben and Harper stood beside him, heads bowed like prisoners. Water streamed continuously from their mouths, eyes still lifeless. Ethan stepped forward. "Trade," he said over the storm. "What?" I yelled back. "One stays," he said. "One drowns, one comes home." My blood froze. "One of you must take my place," he said, "or you all stay here forever." My pulse hammered. I raised the shotgun. "Let them go." Ethan ignored the gun. His dead eyes stared right into mine. "Choose." Ray stepped up beside me. "Take me," he shouted. "This is my debt. My family started this." Something shifted behind Ethan. The lake churned in approval. "No," I said. "No, this isn't your choice. I won't let him take you." Ray's face was carved from stone. "You're a good kid," he whispered. "Better than me. Better than your father. Get them out of here." Before I could stop him, he charged. He ran straight past Ethan and dove into the black water. The lake reacted instantly. Water spiraled violently, pulling him down. "Ray!" I dropped to my knees at the pier edge, reaching out uselessly. For a moment, I saw his face in the darkness below, staring up at me through the surface. Then he was gone. The lake went still. Ethan stepped backward. The water behind him parted, and Harper fell forward onto the pier, coughing violently. Ben collapsed beside her. They were alive. Ethan stared at me one last time. "You know this isn't over," he said. "The lake remembers." A massive wave rose up behind him, swallowing him whole. Then he vanished beneath the surface. Forever. Harper and Ben survived, but they don't remember anything. Doctors said trauma. They think Ethan's death made me hallucinate. No one believes me about what happened at the lake. They don't hear it. At night, when everything is quiet, I still hear it. Water dripping beneath my floorboards. A whisper outside my window. Not Ethan. Someone else. You know this isn't over. The lake doesn't forget, and sometimes, when it rains, I hear Ray's voice calling my name. From the water. The first time I saw the house across the lake, I thought it was abandoned. I wish I never looked at it long enough to realize it wasn't. The wind felt wrong that first night, sharp and cold, like it was trying to warn me. I stood on the deck of the cabin I had rented for the week, watching the last of the daylight bleed into the lake. The water barely moved, a flat mirror of gray and silver under the sinking sun. Then I noticed it. Across the water, tucked between the pines, a house. Dark, silent, no lights, just a shape in the trees. I hadn't seen it during the day. Somehow it blended into the forest like it didn't want to be seen. The rental listing never said anything about other lake houses. The whole point of being here was to be alone, to breathe somewhere quiet for the first time in months. After Dad's death, everything in my life felt loud, suffocating. Friends meant well, but grief made me allergic to people. I needed silence, space, time to think. That's why I came here. But that house across the water hadn't been part of the plan. It sat too still. Heavy. Like it was holding its breath. My phone buzzed in my hoodie pocket. A message from Mom. Made it safe. Send a picture. I took a quick shot of the lake. Didn't zoom enough to catch the house. Sent it. My eyes drifted back to it. For a long moment I just stared. Something bothered me and I couldn't figure out what. Then it hit me. The windows looked black. Not dark from the sunset. Black. Like there was nothing inside. I told myself it was just one of those old vacation cabins people only used during the summer. That made sense. It was off-season. Nobody else came up here in late October. The lake was too cold, the nights too long, and this deep in the mountains nobody drove out here unless they had to. Still, I felt watched. A ripple broke the surface of the water. Then another. Like footsteps. I stepped back. Night came fast. The kind of darkness that swallows you. No streetlights. No neighbors. Just trees and black water and a sky so full of stars it looked like it had ripped open. I made coffee just to have something warm to hold. The cabin popped and groaned in the cold, settling like old bones. I turned on the little space heater in the living room, listened to its soft humming. Tried to relax, my eyes drifted outside again. The house across the lake hadn't changed. No lights, nothing moving. Just sitting there, watching. I forced myself to pull away and dumped my backpack on the wooden table by the kitchen. The cabin smelled like pine and old dust. Not bad, just unused. The kind of smell old places keep. A wood-burning stove sat in the corner beside a stack of logs. A single bedroom down the hall. A loft upstairs, simple, quiet. I unpacked slowly. Anything to get that house out of my head. By midnight, I was in bed. The sheets were cold but clean. Crickets whispered outside. For the first time in a while, I felt calm. Then I heard it. Tap, tap, tap. I held still. It was coming from outside. Near the water. Sharp, spaced sounds, like someone walking down a wooden dock. Tap, tap, tap. My heart started pounding. The lake was empty. Nobody was here, right? I threw on a flannel and stepped barefoot onto the cold cabin floor. I moved to the window overlooking the lake. The dock was right in view, empty. But I could still hear it. Tap, 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 not footsteps. It was coming from the other side of the lake. From the dock in front of that dark house. I squinted. The moonlight gave just enough light to see a faint outline. Something moving by the water. Something slow? A person? I couldn't tell. Too far, too still. But I saw a shape. Shoulders. Head. Standing at the end of the dock, facing me. My breath fogged the glass. The figure didn't move. Didn't wave. Didn't shout. Just stood there. A dark outline against darker water. Watching. My skin prickled. Fear crawled up my spine, slow and cold. I backed away from the window and grabbed the curtains, pulling them closed. The tapping stopped. The silence that followed was worse. I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that figure across the water. By morning, I convinced myself it had been a fisherman or a hiker, or just my brain turning shadows into shapes. That's what fear does. It fills in the dark with monsters. Sunlight made everything feel less dangerous. I made eggs on the tiny gas stove, opened the windows, let fresh air push out the cabin's stillness. The lake outside looked harmless again, clean, calm, a glossy blue mirror. I spent the morning exploring. Found a narrow hiking trail behind the cabin that wound up into the hills, saw deer tracks in the mud by the shore, picked up a piece of driftwood shaped like a twisted hand. Something about this place felt haunted, not by ghosts but by memory. Like the land remembered things people tried to forget. Didn't look across the lake, not until noon. That house was still there, but now something was different. A story high pine tree stood next to the house. Yesterday I thought it was just another tree. Today I realized it wasn't a tree. It was a flagpole, and hanging from it stiff in the cold air was a massive sun-bleached missing person poster. Too big to be real. Cloth, printed, like a banner. The face on it was warped by wind and weather, but I could just make out a smile. A woman, blonde, maybe early 20s. What the hell? My stomach sank. That wasn't normal lake house decor. That was wrong. That was obsession level wrong. A paranoid thought crawled in. What if someone lives there? And if they do, what are they looking for? Later I went into town. Felt like the right thing to do. See if anyone knew about the place across the lake. 10 miles down a quiet mountain road, I hit a gas station. Fly-stained windows. Beer banners from 3 summers ago still hanging. One car at the pump. A dusty pickup. A bell clanged when I pushed the door open. A man behind the counter looked up. Late 40s. Heavy jaw. Cap pulled low. His face said he'd seen everything and didn't care to see more. I grabbed a few things. Water, bread, soup, batteries. Cash on the counter. He rang everything up. Didn't speak, I did. Anyone live across the lake? Other side of Ridgewater Bay? His hands paused. Cash register open. He didn't look at me. Why? He said, I saw a house yesterday. Didn't know anyone else stayed out there. The man stared past me like he was picking his words carefully. Like he didn't want to answer at all. Finally, he said, ain't nobody out there. Then whose house is it? He looked at me then. Hard. Like he wanted to scare me without raising his voice. Leave it alone. I should have listened. But I didn't. Because that night, it got worse, way worse. It started again around midnight, tap, tap, tap. I froze on the couch. The fire in the wood stove had burned low, filling the cabin with the smell of smoke and pine. Outside, the moon hit the lake with a silver glow. Tap, tap, tap. I moved slowly to the window and pushed the curtain aside. Someone was on my dock now. A figure at the far end, standing still. Facing the water, quiet, rigid, the same stillness as before. The same unnatural way of holding absolute silence. My throat tightened. I forced myself to unlock the door and step outside, flashlight in hand. My bare feet hit the cold wood of the porch. The night air felt heavier than before, like it didn't want me out there. I clicked on the flashlight. The beam cut across the water and landed on the dock, empty, no one there. My pulse thudded in my ears. I swept the light around, nothing but lake and wind. Then I saw the footprints, wet footprints, leading down the dock, stopping at the very end, like someone had been standing there only seconds ago. I turned slowly and flashed the light across the lake, the house. A single light was on. Now in the upstairs window, someone was awake, watching, back toward the cabin door, pulse racing. I should have gone inside, locked the door, closed the curtains, but I didn't, because something floated in the water near the dock, something small and wooden. I moved closer and knelt at the edge. A box, an old wooden box, tied shut with knotted rope. My breath came slow and shaky as I reached out and pulled it from the water. It was heavy, carved with symbols I didn't recognize. The wood felt chilled, like it had been soaked for years. I carried it into the cabin and dropped it onto the table. My hands were shaking. I stared at it for a long time, then I heard something inside, a soft thump, then another, like something was moving, no breathing. I woke up to the sound of tapping, not loud. Just a faint, deliberate tapping, like someone clicking a fingernail against glass. For a second I thought it was part of my dream, but then I opened my eyes and remembered exactly where I was. The lake house, and my back was stiff from falling asleep on the couch. I didn't even remember dozing off. The room was cold, my neck ached, and the tapping continued. A patient rhythm, steady and slow. Tap, tap, tap. It was coming from behind me. From the window I didn't want to turn. I already knew I wouldn't see anything good, but I forced myself to look, my muscles tense. Nothing. Just condensation from the cold night misting the glass, and the dark outline of the backyard stretching toward the tree line. The dock was barely visible, a thin shape reaching over black water. The wind didn't seem to be blowing, so what was tapping? I got up and checked outside with my flashlight. The beam cut through the fog, but I didn't see anything. No branches hitting the window, no loose siding, no animal trying to get in. But I felt it again, that weird sensation. Like someone had just been here watching, waiting. I locked the back door again, and I pushed the deadbolt harder than necessary, as if sheer force could keep out whatever I didn't understand. When I looked up, I noticed something new. There were faint smudges on the glass, too high up to be fingerprints. Long vertical streaks, like something had dragged along it. I convinced myself it was from the previous owner. Grease, dust, maybe paint. Not a big deal, but something about it bothered me. I grabbed a paper towel and wiped the glass. The marks didn't come off. I pressed harder, wiped again. Nothing. The streaks were inside the glass, between the panes. And I had never seen that before. A whisper of unease crept up my spine. I stepped away from the window. Maybe I was still half asleep or shaken from last night. I needed coffee, something normal. The morning was gray, heavy clouds sitting low over the lake. A cold mist clung to everything. I checked my phone, 6:13 a.m., no signal. Of course, it made my stomach feel heavy. Isolation in a place like this suddenly didn't feel peaceful. It felt unsafe. I made coffee with the old drip pot. It tasted like dust, but it was warm, comforting. Sort of. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at the carved initials in the wood again. Don't open it. My eyes drifted to the hallway closet. The box. The locked wooden box we found. The one that changed everything. I didn't plan on touching it again, but it was already in my head. It was like the box had weight beyond just wood and metal. It carried presence. It clung to this place. I tried to convince myself it was just an old relic from a paranoid owner. People hide weird shit all the time. Maybe it just held money or drugs or something worse. Fine. Maybe I could pry it open and settle it once and for all. just to prove to my brain there was a rational answer. But another part of me? The smarter part? That part said, do not open that thing. Ever. Still, curiosity is a disease, and it was spreading. The floor creaked behind me. I turned sharply. No one. I hadn't even heard the front door open, but someone had to be here. The floorboards don't creak on their own. I moved slowly through the living room and toward the hallway. The house felt wrong. The air was too still. No sounds, no humming fridge, no wind outside, just stillness. I reached the hallway. Goosebumps raced across my arms. There were wet footprints on the floor. They started near the front door, bare human footprints, and led toward the hallway closet. They stopped right in front of it. The door was slightly open. My heart began pounding in my ears. I knelt to look closer. The prints were fresh, still wet, and muddy like someone had walked straight out of the lake. I reached toward the closet door, my hand trembling. I paused before touching it, bracing myself first with a deep breath. Then I pushed the door open. Inside, nothing, just the same coats. Same smell of damp fabric, same wooden floor, except the box was gone. The top shelf was empty where it had been. I froze. Someone had broken in. Someone had taken it. Maybe even while I was still here sleeping. How did I not hear them? Then I noticed one more thing. The footprints didn't end at the closet. They went into it, but they didn't come out. I stepped inside, bile rising in my throat. I pushed the hanging coats aside. The back panel of the closet was slightly open. It wasn't a wall. It was a door, a hidden door. Nope, nope, nope. Absolutely not. Every part of me said to walk away. Leave. Just go. Who needs to stay in a creepy lake house with hidden doors? But I couldn't leave Mia. She was still asleep upstairs. I couldn't shake her and say, hey, we're leaving because the closet has muddy footprints and secret doors and the house is probably haunted. Get in the car. She'd think I lost my mind. But I couldn't ignore this either. Something was in here last night, someone, so I had to look, just long enough to make sure nobody was still inside. I pulled open the false wall and found narrow wooden stairs leading down into darkness. Footprints went down. I turned on my phone flashlight again. The stairs looked old, older than the rest of the house. Uneven and crude like they'd been built in a hurry. And the smell coming up wasn't like musty basement or mold. This was worse. It smelled like stagnant water. Like rot. I swallowed back the nausea and stepped down. The stairs led to a long, low corridor. Not a real basement. This was more like a crawl space someone had carved into a hideout. The wood beams above were warped and stained. The narrow dirt floor muffled my steps. The flashlight illuminated a long hallway ahead, vanishing deeper under the house. Along the walls were carvings, dozens of them, numbers, initials, symbols etched into the wood. My breath shook as I passed them, reading scraps of messages scratched into the beams. Don't let her in. She knows your name, it watches from the dock. She lives in the walls, don't answer. If it knocks, the box keeps her out, don't open. I stopped breathing. The same. Warning, again. I kept going, but now every step felt wrong, like I was walking into someone else's nightmare. The hallway ended at a small underground room lit by a single hanging bulb. It flickered faintly. Someone lived here. I saw a makeshift bed on the floor. Rusty shelves with jars of cloudy water. Cracked mirrors. A wooden desk, rope, a metal bucket, and in the center of everything, the box. Sitting exactly where someone left it, like it was waiting for me. I stepped closer. The air felt heavier, like it resisted me, like the darkness pushed back. I already knew if I touched that box again, something terrible would happen. Something I couldn't undo. But that's when I heard it. A sound from behind me. A shifting of dirt. Breath. I spun around and lifted my phone flashlight, and there was someone in the room with me. A man. He was backed against the far wall like a cornered animal, eyes wide, face pale and sunken. His hair was matted, clothes torn and filthy. But the worst part? He looked terrified of me. He whispered with cracked lips, "Did you open it?" I stared at him. He stumbled forward weakly, voice shaking. "Tell me you didn't. Tell me you left it closed." My throat was too dry to speak. I didn't open it," I said. He shut his eyes in relief, whispered, "Thank God." I tried to steady my breathing. "Who are you?" I asked quietly. He didn't answer that. Instead, he stepped closer, frantic. You have to get out of here, he said. Both of you. The lake, it's hers. She watches from the water. From the dock. She gets closer every night. My voice trembled. Who? He stared at me for a long, hollow second, then he pointed at the box. She wants what's inside. Before I could speak again, something boomed above us, something heavy. It came from upstairs, inside the house. He froze. His eyes went somewhere distant. His breathing grew shallow. She's here, he whispered. I felt my legs move without thinking. I bolted for the tunnel, back through the corridor. I didn't look to see if he followed. It felt like the walls were closing in, like something behind me was crawling fast and wrong. I flew up the stairs and into the hallway closet, and then I heard it. Footsteps. In the house. Upstairs. Slow. Dragging. I grabbed the closet door and slammed it shut behind me. I turned the lock just as something hit the other side once softly, like a hand pressing against wood, then another tap. And another, not pounding, not forcing its way in, just letting me know it was there. Tap. Tap. Tap, like fingernails. My heart thudded so loud I couldn't hear anything else. After what felt like forever, the tapping stopped. Dust drifted from the ceiling as the old house settled again. Silence. I stayed frozen until my breathing calmed. Then I stepped out carefully, listening. Nothing moved. I checked upstairs. My chest seized with relief. Mia was still asleep in bed. Completely unaware, but on the inside of her bedroom door, somebody had written a single word, in wet streaks, like lake water. Suni searched the entire house twice. Every room, every closet, under every bed, nothing. Whoever or whatever had been here was gone. There were no more footprints. Nothing broken. No signs of forced entry. I considered calling the police, but what would I tell them? Yes. Someone has been living under my house with a haunted box while a lake ghost writes messages on doors. Please come arrest the water. They'd take me away instead. I debated waking Mia, packing our things, and leaving immediately. But a question dug into my mind like a splinter. Who was that man? And why was he living here? I couldn't shake his last words. She wants what's inside, which meant he was still inside that tunnel. I had left him behind. I ran back to the closet, flung it open, yanked the secret door wide, and froze again. The tunnel was gone. The floor and walls were solid. No hollow panel. No hidden latch. Just wood and drywall. I didn't move. Couldn't. The woman on the dock was too still, unnatural. Even from inside the house, I could tell something was wrong with her posture, like her spine wasn't straight. Her head tilted slightly to one side as if straining to listen. The lake was dead calm. No ripples, no wind. Just that shape at the end of the dock, water dripping softly beneath her. I took one slow step toward the window. The floorboard creaked. The woman's head turned. Just the head. Her body stayed facing forward, but her face twisted, farther than it should have, until I could see her mouth open and dark, her hair plastered to her cheek. Even from this distance, I swear I could see her eyes, black, wide, fixed right on me. I stumbled backward, knocking over a chair. It hit the floor hard. When I looked again, she was gone. The dock was empty. I stood there for maybe a minute, not breathing, listening. My pulse was so loud it sounded like a heartbeat in the walls. Then from somewhere inside the house I heard footsteps. Soft, slow, bare feet on wood, coming from upstairs. I ran. The sound of the steps matched mine, but stayed one beat behind, like something was copying me. I reached the base of the stairs and froze, gripping the railing. Mia. No answer. Just another step. Then another. I climbed, slow and quiet. The hallway upstairs was darker than it should have been, like the shadows had thickened overnight. Her door was cracked open. Mia, I whispered again. When I pushed the door open, the air hit me. Cold, damp, wrong. The smell of lake water filled the room. Her bed was empty. The sheets were wet. My heart nearly stopped. There was a puddle by. The window and the curtains swayed as if someone had just been there. I ran to the window and looked out. She was standing in the backyard, barefoot, soaked to the bone. "Mia!" I shouted, yanking open the window. She didn't respond. She just turned her head slowly toward the lake, then started walking toward it. I flew down the stairs and out the back door. The ground was freezing, grass slick with dew and something that smelled faintly like algae. "Mia!" She didn't stop. Her feet left wet prints across the boards of the dock. Each step was slow, deliberate. The wood creaked under her weight. I grabbed her shoulder just as she reached the end. Her skin was ice cold. "Mia, snap out of it!" She turned toward me, and my breath left my body. Her eyes were wide, unfocused, and her mouth, her lips moved. But the voice that came out wasn't hers. "He wants it back." My grip loosened. "What?" Her expression didn't change. "The box. It's open." No, it's not." But when I looked past her, at the water, I saw it, floating near the dock, half submerged in the dark water. The wooden box. Its lid was open. I don't remember jumping in. I just remember the shock of the water hitting my skin, like ice and static, and something alive wrapping around me. I grabbed the box and dragged it toward shore, choking as I gasped for air. The water around me felt thick, heavy, like it didn't want me to leave. Something brushed my leg. I kicked. Hard. Then again, something grabbed my ankle. I went under. The world went black, the water swallowing sound. My chest screamed for air as I twisted, kicking against whatever held me. I opened my eyes underwater and saw her, the woman. Pale face inches from mine, hair floating like black weeds. Her eyes were glassy, but she was smiling. Her mouth opened wider, and I saw water pouring out. Not bubbles, not breath, but dark water, endless. Her hand on my ankle was bone-white, swollen, skin-splitting. I kicked again, breaking free, clawing toward the surface. When I burst through, I screamed her name. "Maya!" She was gone. The dock was empty. The woods were silent. The only thing left was the box, floating in front of me. I dragged it out of the water and onto the shore. I don't know why. Maybe some part of me thought closing it would fix everything. But when I looked inside, there was nothing there. Just lake water, and a single smooth stone sitting at the bottom. No markings, just cold and dark. I turned it over in my hand, shaking. Then I heard a whisper, not in my ears, inside my head. "Put it back." The voice was calm, female, almost kind. I dropped the stone instantly. It landed in the dirt, and the moment it touched the ground, the whisper stopped. I stared at it for what felt like hours, not daring to move. Then from behind me I heard Mia's voice, soft, right by my ear. "Don't turn around." My body went still. Every nerve in me screamed to move, to look, to run. But I didn't. "Mia," I whispered. My voice shook. "Where are you?" No answer, just breathing. Wet, ragged breathing. She, or whatever was using her voice, leaned closer. I could feel cold air on my neck. "You shouldn't have touched it." The breath stopped, and when I finally turned around, there was no one there, just the lake. Still, black. And on the dock, 2 sets of wet footprints, leading away from the water. I stayed up the rest of the night with every light on. The box sat on the table, water pooling beneath it. I tried to leave. I swear I tried. But every time I grabbed my keys, something stopped me. A whisper, a movement, a feeling that if I stepped outside, the world would tilt, and I'd never find my way back. By dawn, the fog had lifted. The footprints on the dock were gone. So was the stone. I searched the entire shore for it. Nothing. That's when I noticed something new carved into the wood on the dock. Letters rough and uneven, freshly scraped. "She's under the house." My mind kept replaying the tunnel. The man's warning, his eyes. She wants what's inside. If the lake took her box, maybe it wanted something else now. I walked back into the house, heart pounding. The air inside felt different, thicker. The hum of the fridge was gone. The clock on the wall had stopped at 3:17. I went to the closet. The secret door was back, wide open. A wet trail led down the stairs, and from the darkness below, I heard it again. Tap, 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 then a voice. Mia's voice. Come see what she showed me. I gripped the flashlight, forcing myself to look down. The water at the bottom of the steps reflected the beam like a mirror, but the reflection wasn't mine. It was her, smiling. And then her hand reached up from the water and touched the first step. The hand that touched the bottom step didn't rise like something trying to climb. It moved like it was testing, like it was feeling the wood grain, memorizing it. Pale fingers traced along the edge before slipping beneath the water again. I froze, gripping the railing so hard my fingers ached. My pulse thudded inside my head. Every survival instinct I had screamed at me to run, but I knew I couldn't. Mia was down there. I heard her voice. I swore I did. My flashlight trembled in my hand as I pointed it into the darkness at the bottom of the steps. The reflection began to ripple. Then I heard it again, Mia's voice drifting up from the black water. Come see, come see. But this time, something about the tone made my stomach twist. It wasn't a plea. It wasn't fear. It was an invitation. I swallowed hard and stepped down, one step, then another. Each creaking plank felt like a countdown. By the 10th step, my shoes were submerged. The cold was unbearable, stabbing straight into my bones. The water came up to my knees. I tried not to think about what might be beneath the surface, brushing against my jeans, curling around my ankles, waiting. Mia? My voice cracked. Where are you? A splash. Behind me. I whipped around with the flashlight, but there was nothing except the staircase disappearing into fog. The water barely rippled. Silence swallowed everything. Then her voice came again. Only this time it was right behind me. I'm here, I spun and dropped the flashlight. Mia stood inches away, soaked, hair hanging heavy over her shoulders, her face drained of all color. Her eyes were wide, but not afraid. Calm, empty. Her clothes dripped lake water, but I noticed something else. Around her ankles and wrists, faint marks, like fingers had been gripping her. Hard. Mia, Jesus, you scared me, I whispered, relief slamming into me. Are you okay? I thought. I didn't know where you... She raised a single finger to my lips. Shh, she whispered. She's listening. I froze. My skin crawled. She stepped closer, her eyes flicking to the water behind me, then back. She showed me. Mia said softly. Everything. This place, this lake, it remembers. What are you talking about? I breathed. Her voice dropped lower, almost reverent. She was just like me, you know. Trapped. Begging someone to listen. And nobody did, I shook my head. Who? A smile twitched at the corner of her mouth, but it wasn't right. It didn't reach her eyes. The girl who lived here, she whispered. The one buried beneath the house. Cold panic spread through me. This house didn't have a basement. It sat on a slope, half on old stone, half on stilts that sank into the lake. There was nothing beneath it except water. Mia, we need to leave. Now, I said, grabbing her arm. Her gaze drifted past me to the water. We're not alone. Mia, she's watching. Her body jerked suddenly, like she'd been shoved. She stumbled back, falling into the water with a splash. I lunged after her, reaching into the dark water. But the water wasn't just water anymore, it was full of arms. Hands reached up from the depths, pale, swollen, fingers dragging through the water. Not just one pair, dozens. Some brushed my sleeves, others clawed at my wrists. I tried to pull back, but something caught my watch and yanked, dragging me under. The water swallowed me in a heartbeat. Below the surface was madness. Bodies moved beneath me, colorless, tangled in the silt. Their faces twisted, mouths stretched open as though permanently screaming, though no sound escaped. They drifted in unnatural stillness until one turned. A face rose from the dark directly beneath me. Her eyes opened, not lifeless, aware, furious. She reached for me. I kicked free, lungs burning, clawing my way upward until I broke the surface, gasping. I spun desperately, looking for Mia. She was standing on the stairs now, out of the water, perfectly still, watching. She tilted her head slowly, her eyes. Jesus Christ, they weren't Mia's anymore. Mia, I shouted. Get away from the water. She didn't move. Maya. Then she spoke, but it wasn't her voice anymore. "You found her box," she said. "Now you have to give it back." I backed up. "What do you want?" Her expression changed, flickering through something like grief. Then rage. "Give it back." The water behind me exploded. Something burst upward, hitting me from behind, knocking me face first into the stairs. Pain blurred everything. I grabbed the railing, pulling myself up, and froze. The hands were back, clinging to the steps, to the walls, reaching from the black water like a mob of the drowned, dragging themselves toward me. I scrambled up the staircase, slipping on the water-slick steps. I hit the landing and slammed the hidden door shut. Something on the other side hit it hard. Then again. Wood cracked. I shoved a chair under the handle and stumbled back, panting. The knocking started again. Tap, tap, tap. This time from inside the walls. I didn't sleep. I barricaded myself in the living room and waited for sunrise. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. My clothes were soaked in lake water, leaving cold patches that clung to my skin like hands. I could still feel them, those fingers pressing against me, dragging me down. Every once in a while I heard movement upstairs. Wet footsteps, floorboards creaking. Sometimes a faint voice hummed. Sometimes my name, but it never came close. Almost like it was waiting, watching. When dawn finally came, I found the box sitting on the table. I didn't bring it there. I didn't touch it after dragging it from the shore. But there it was, dry, untouched, closed. There was something inside now, something heavy. I lifted the lid slowly. Inside sat the smooth black stone. Only now, it wasn't a stone anymore. It had cracked open and inside was something wet and red. A human tooth. I ran. I didn't pack. I didn't think. I grabbed my keys and sprinted down the hallway toward the front door, but stopped dead. There were wet footprints. Fresh ones, leading from the door deeper into the house. The door had been open sometime that night. Something had come in. I tried the knob locked. I tried again. Locked, sealed, dead. Something scraped faintly on the other side. Slow, deliberate, almost like someone carving. I leaned closer. My breath fogged the glass. 3 words appeared on the door, etched in by something sharp from the outside. "The lake keeps." I didn't scream. I don't know why, but nothing came out. My voice was gone. I stumbled back. The lights flickered once, then died. The house fell into pitch darkness. For a long, hollow moment I stood there, listening, waiting. Something creaked upstairs. Then again. A dragging sound, wet. Something was coming down. Step, step, step. I ran to the back door. I didn't care if it led toward the lake anymore. Anything was better than being trapped inside with whatever that thing was. But just like the front door, the back door wouldn't budge. Locked. Frozen. I hit it again and again, panic taking over. "Let me out," I screamed. "Let me out." Then I heard something behind me. Breathing. Slow. Calm. I turned. Mia was standing at the bottom of the stairs. At least her body was. But whatever was wearing her face, it wasn't her. She stepped closer. My back hit the door. Nowhere left to go. Water dripped from her fingers. Her eyes were hollow. Her voice came in 2 overlapping layers. One hers, one not. "You opened the box," she said. "Now you belong to the lake." I shook my head. No, I didn't mean to. Where's Mia?" "What did you do to her?" Her head tilted. The smile she gave me was full of sadness. "She's still inside," she whispered. Like I was. My blood turned to ice. "Who are you?" She lowered her head. When she spoke again, the house seemed to breathe with her. My name was Evelyn. The name hit me. From the journals. The missing girl. The one nobody found. The one dragged under. She stepped forward and the lights flickered. Not random. Not accidental. They pulsed, like a heartbeat. The house was alive. "She took me," Evelyn whispered, like she took the others. "She never lets go. She keeps pieces of us. That's what the box is. It holds what she can't." "Who?" I whispered. "Who is she?" Evelyn didn't blink. Her lips parted, and the temperature dropped so fast I saw frost bloom on the window. "The lake," she said. She found a voice, a shape. "She became something that never dies." I shook my head. "I don't understand." "You don't need to," she said softly. "You just need to decide. Decide what? Who goes back? The floor shook. Something massive moved under the house. Boards groaned like ribs bending. Water surged up through the floorboards, cold and black. Evelyn reached out and took my hand. Her grip was cold but gentle. "She'll take one of us," she said. "Just one." The other walks away. My heart stopped. "Choose," she said. Her head turned. I followed her gaze and saw Mia standing behind her, the real Mia. Her eyes were wide with terror. Her lips trembled. "Please," she whispered. "Don't let her take me." Evelyn spoke again, her voice hollow. "Choose now." The room shook. Water burst through the floor in violent black streams. Something thrashed below, slamming against the beams. The house began to sink, tilting toward the lake. "Mia, run!" I yelled. She shook her head violently. "She won't let me. She won't let me." Evelyn stepped closer, squeezing my hand until bones popped. "Only one of you leaves." The water was up to my knees now. The floor beneath us began to sag, rotting, collapsing. The smell of decay filled the air. I looked at Mia, then at Evelyn. Mia sobbed. "Please," she cried. "Please don't let me die here." Evelyn watched me with dead eyes. "Choose." The house groaned. The floor dropped another foot. Water surged. I didn't think. I moved. I grabbed Mia and shoved her toward the door. "I choose her," I screamed. "Take me." Evelyn didn't look surprised. She just nodded, and then she let go of Mia and she reached for me. Cold exploded through my body as something unseen grabbed my chest. Hands pulled me backward. I fought, but they were endless.